Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. And as always, thank you for all your support, including sharing, chatting, liking, and subscribing. Now roll that famous logo animation!
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. In a world of fun and fantasy, and ever-changing views, and computer terminology, Commodore is news. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Good evening and welcome back to Computerized Start Live. I am your host, Justin D. Morgan, and are you keeping up with the Commodore? I am. I know where my Commodore is. In fact, I know where the chips are now. So, yes, if anyone was wondering, did I misplace them? Technically, yes. I usually keep them with the project they're for. They were sitting to my right, not where the Commodore was. Anyways, let's see here. We have, let's see here. That will remind me to, we'll hide that because I have no active coffee goal. Instead, I have a link to some organizations where you can give to hurricane relief. So if you were feeling like giving me a tip tonight, well, you can give to hurricane relief instead. They need it more. Anyways, let's see here who we have in the chat. We have Frank S. Hi, Frank. We have Francois. Hi, Francois. We have Point Five. Hi, Point Five. We have Gut Bomb. Hi, Jason. We have I8386SX. Yes, hi, Jesse. We have, let's see here. And Retro Techie. Hi, Retro Techie. Retro Techie's asking me to hold up today's newspaper. Well, I do not subscribe to the newspaper, because for what you get these days, it's too expensive, so I guess you're just going to have to take my word for it. Let's see here. What do we have on the bench? Well, there's only one thing I can do to tell you what we have on the bench.
Why buy just a video game from Atari or Intellivision? Invest in the wonder computer of the 1980s for under $300. The Commodore VIC-20. Unlike games, it has a real computer keyboard. With the Commodore VIC-20, the whole family can learn computing at home. Plays great games, too. Under $300, the wonder computer of the 1980s, the Commodore VIC-20.
Coming soon, Commodore brings you Gorf, the Wonder Arcade game, and Omega Race in home versions. Commodore.
Yes, I probably heard me laugh at Gut Bomb's statement. Lol, VIC-20. This is a repeat. I've seen this one already. Yes, you might have seen this one already. We have the pet style VIC-20 on the bench. What makes it the pet style? Well, it is the pet style keyboard. That's why it's the pet style. But this pet style keyboard, well, I think the keyboard works. Last time we had this on the bench, I put some bodge wires on the keyboard, and you can kind of see that the PCB doesn't quite fit flush there because of the bodge wires. Hey, Jeremy, welcome. We have Jeremy's Vintage Hillbilly Shack here. Anyways, I have IC sockets, which, interestingly enough, I did put these with the Commodore, but I did not put the VIAs with the Commodore. So, am I keeping up with where the VIAs are? Yeah, they're right here in my hand. 2 of them, brand new from Western Design Center. So, yes. But before we get to that, I'm going to set the screws off to the side. I do need to take a look at some corrosion on the motherboard. As you can see by the corrosion that was on the RF shield. We'll try to clean that off later. Because hopefully I can just get this thing done and then put it back together and then, well, work on other VIC-20 stuff in future live streams. Gutbomb says, I have some of those too because I use them on the Apple II Lego card I'm working on. Nice. Now, those are the backwards compatible ones. Now, interestingly enough, all right, actually, I think I only need one VIA. Because it looks like I have a check mark on this one and an X on that one, so we will try swapping that. However, I would like to get some of this corrosion cleaned up. And I'm almost tempted to do it before I stick some brand new chips in the board. So if you can see, some of those vias and pads there are kind of a little bit fuzzy. I don't know what exactly caused that, but we're going to see if I can't do something to take care of it. Retro Techie's saying it. He's got a couple extras of these chips, and I can have them if I come pick them up locally. Well, I believe I can order brand new ones from Mauser cheaper than I can drive to your neck of the woods. So, it's a generous offer, though. If I am ever in your neck of the woods, I will redeem the offer. Francois working on something and says, okay, this device has a 7805 regulator. It probably won't work if I feed it 5 volts. Yep, probably not. Oh, I think that's stuff that's on the solder mask on the bottom. So let's see if I can't maybe do a little bit of cleaning to get rid of some of this corrosion. Before I start putting things back together. I also see why I have sockets. I think that's because that socket is also not good. So I am going to have to replace the socket. Well, let's get some corrosion off the board first. So I am going to try something Thomas Armstrong suggested. This looks like dust on camera. Well, all right, we can try the dust off removal process, which for that I will just simply use isopropyl alcohol. But I sure thought I already tried scrubbing it off with isopropyl alcohol and it did not budge. Because remember, it looked like some liquid had gotten onto this, so it would not surprise me if it actually is something of consequence. Alright, well, let's see what that looks like after the isopropyl alcohol dries. Upum says, corrosion is pretty rare for these machines unless they got wet. Well, I have enough evidence that says that this might have had a little bit of water get in it. And that was the corrosion in the PCB that I had to fix. Alright, well, let's see. Okay, some of this I think is dust, so I think it'll just come right off with that. I think is dust, but I think what is on these chip legs is more than dust. And specifically like these three chips here and the diodes or capacitors beside them. Because there's also this socket that I think had liquid in it because of the way it's corroded. Yes, thank you, Retro Techie, for oh, yes, reminding me that I need to hide the goal that's not active right now. Alright, so you know, maybe that did the trick. Hmm. Yes, thank you, Retro Techie. Capcom says it just looks like a fine VIC-20 to me. Well, the corrosion on this socket says otherwise, so that socket does need to be replaced. That's why I thought there was liquid damage there, but you know, I think that actually did come clean. Except that SRAM there. There does appear to be a little bit of rust on those two legs. I mean, it's probably fine, at least that. I won't worry about that too much. I think if I've gotten whatever's off of it off, then I'm not going to risk the board to replace the SRAM. We'll replace that socket and let me see what the one that beside it looks like. If I can find my the chip remover, which I probably was using Sunday. Alright. Well, I don't need the okay, I don't need the vinegar. I've got a check mark on this chip. I think it tested fine. Or at least I think the keyboard worked when I put it in the spot where the keyboard well, I don't know why I wrote a check mark on it. It's not like I've got dead test for the VIC-20. Alright, so well, I guess that socket's fine. I'm not going to Alright, I'm not going to risk removing that one. I'll just remove the one that doesn't look so hot. And we'll go on from there. Alright, let's see here. Turn those on. Turn on Claris to warm up. Alright. Let's get so here's the socket I'm going to remove. And we'll go from there. Alright. And we'll wait for Claris to warm up. Let's see here. We will prepare for liftoff here as well. Liftoff of the Space Shuttle Commodore. Whose mission was to be the wonder computer of the 1980s. Whose mission was cut short by the Commodore 64. Alright, let's see how cooperative this solder is going to be. Ah, looks like it might actually just cooperate. Maybe. Maybe I should add some solder. That is the NSD ZD915, which may have been discontinued. It seems to be hard to find parts for it. It does not surprise me that I need to add solder to these pins, because this is the side of the socket that is corroded. Interestingly enough, this is also the keyboard side of the chip, because you can see the traces that are going straight over to the keyboard connector. Let's Alright, let's try this. Now with more solder to hopefully cooperate. All right. All right. Let's see if I can't. All right. Since the socket won't budge, I'm going to try to make it a little easier for me to get a feel for what might still be attached. Okay, so that side was... Oh yeah, that side came out pretty cleanly. Don't see any damage there. I think the other side is stuck. Okay, I think I see the pins that it's stuck on. Actually, I think you might be able to as well. It looks like it is this one. And I think it's that one. And that one. And that one. And that one. And maybe still that one. And maybe that one. And... Alright. I can only turn so many things on at a time, and that's why I'm trying to avoid hot air. If another pass of fresh solder doesn't do it, then I'll probably have to pull the hot air out. There we go. Oh, looks like I got one pin that stayed behind. All right, well, Alright, let's clean up that corrosion. If I find a hot air gun that makes the, or if I find a, hot air gun that makes the moo noise, then I'm in business. Yeah. Alright. Let's clean this. Oh. I still have. I've got something in one of the through holes, although it may just be. Alright, so I got. Yeah, I think I got them all free. Alright. Oh, hey, K-Mech Vintage, welcome! Just got the bad socket out. It was bad because it had corroded pins. There's a little bit of corrosion under the socket on the top. There's what the pins, there's what the socket looked like when I removed it. So yeah, you can see there was definitely some mineral deposits, at least under the socket. So I think there's my evidence that there was some water intrusion into this system at some point. All right. Now this VIA looks funny, but I think it's still there. And if it's not, it's an easy patch. Or should be. Okay, well, the VIA is still making contact. And it should still be making contact on this side. Yeah, we're good. Why is the audio so weird? Oh. Oh. Enjoy your dinner or meal. Will, why does the audio sound so weird? Probably because I had fans running. Does it sound better now? I also was dropping like crazy frames earlier, but it looks like that's subsided. Alright. So I've got a high quality dual wipe socket to replace the crummy single wipe socket that Commodore used. And it should just push right into place. There we go. Heck, now I almost want to replace the other socket just because of how nice that looks. Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a fume extractor running while I was removing that socket there. All right, hold please while I try to drop and misplace everything I'm trying to use. All right, so I think if I tack the two corners, because I think the socket has some kinked leads on it, which helps hold it into place. So I think tacking the two corners, yeah, I don't think there's any adjustment needed. Now, that solder, Richard Techies ask why extract the fumes. Well, because they're probably not that good for you. Hmm. And, oh, you know, I don't think some of those solder joints flowed very nicely. I'm gonna add some flux and reflow. Might have been some oxidation on the board. All right, let's try this again. Yeah, I could have used low melt solder to remove the socket, but it's expensive and yeah, probably I probably am dropping frames. I, Comcast is probably having trouble tonight. Oh, I know what it is. I think there's a vice presidential debate going on. There's probably more people streaming TV than usual. Yes, I'd like to remind everyone that on my Patreon and Coffee page, I publish my streaming schedule for the month. So if only the debate commission had thought to check that, they could have avoided a conflict. Oh, it starts in 13 minutes. Oh, great. I have something to look forward to in terms of even lower bandwidth. Wasn't happy with the solder joints the second time around, so I'm reflowing once more and adding a little solder as I go. Some of these just didn't seem like there was a lot of solder holding them in. It is. What is it? It's 4337 or 6337. Joe says, "Be very, very, very quiet." He's soldering joints. Yes. Hey, Joe. Welcome. There we go. Those look. Those look respectable. Except like. Okay, it might just be an optical illusion. Okay, I think those look good. ASMR soldering. Yeah. Okay, so I've got the new socket in and get some flux cleaned off the board. Oh, hey, Sloopy. Welcome. Uh, Sloopy says my joints just crack and pop. Oh, wait, wrong kind of joints. Yeah. I know that feeling some mornings, especially rainy mornings. Okay. Got the flux cleaned off. If I can remember, let's see, what to do with my Commodore power adapter. Oh, there was one other thing I was going to do before I powered it up. Just like I was trying to clean the top of the board, there's this one spot on the bottom of the board. Let me see if I can kind of clean this area up a little. Looks like there's some sediment from probably where the board got a little bit wet. And then some factory flux, probably from factory rework. And it just kind of looks a little bit bad there. So let's make this look a little bit good. Especially so that any of that is sediment on the board, just kind of get that off the board. Yeah, that right there on that component, I think is factory flux, I believe. Oh, well, that one pin. Really fluxy. I think that's in the RF modulator. Well, it's in the video part of the circuit. Also, it's just kind of a little bit grungy here, so I'm going to give it an extra clean here, too. All right, there we go. Paper will take the flux and alcohol in, yeah. Oh, hey, Thomas, welcome. Yeah, Thomas says 6337 is a good solder mix. Yep. I think I almost like it better than 6040, but personal preference. I think both are. All right, so we got a new socket there. And for the new socket, I have in a sealed anti-static package, which I'm going to have fun opening. Thomas says lead is safe in Canada. All right, there we go. Our two brand new Western Design Center 6522s. And I'm going to take one of them. I get solder from Kester, I believe it is. Well, I mean, I don't buy directly from them, but I use their solder. All right, so I'm going to use the new 6522, and I'm going to put it in the new socket. There we go. And I'm going to take the old 6522 that's got a check mark on it, which I think means it's the one that I tested fine. And contact cleaner, but little contact cleaner never hurt. That's weird. All right, let me. Well. Oh, it's just probably the cruddy single white sockets making it difficult. There we go. So new meets old. Joe is watching two streams at once. But I am about to power up a VIC-20. All right. So we have our VIC-20. We've got the 6522 replacement in. We have the original 6522 in the other socket. Processors in. I guess because the problem was keyboard, I should probably plug a keyboard in. Where's the... Oh, there it is. Okay, so... Alright. Having trouble remembering which way it went. Actually, I'm going to contact clean the keyboard connector. Alright, there we go. And let's see here. Use that to keep that from direct contact, because there are a few pins on the back. Let's see here. I need the video cable. Alright, there we go. And I need a power cable. Oh, hey, Mike from Mike's Future Retro. Welcome from, says greetings from my temporary location in southern Florida. Well, welcome, Mike. And Francois went up to 3 streams at once. Ow. That's dedication to your streams, Francois. Alright, I got the VIC-20 power supply. I was using it to keep a LTE from jumping off the box I had it setting on. You know, just to make sure it didn't like run away back to Retrotech Chris's house. Something like that. Alright, so let me see here. I need to go to composite input 2. Alright. And let's see here. Oh, that's not going to be the right outlet. Smart outlets. I need... Oh, I turned it on. Okay, well, we got 3, 2, 1. All right, we did not have any immediate smoke. Hey, there we go. Okay, the colors are slightly off. That is my scaler, not the VIC-20. Well, I have one key that's working. That's weird. Got 3 keys that are working. 4 keys. It must be my internet tonight. Well, I think I thought I had more keys before I put the new chip in. I have, well, P plus pound and asterisk. P plus pound asterisk. I've already cleaned the switches, Thomas. I've already cleaned them. Yeah, I did that before. I did that in the last stream before I realized that the 6522 was causing problems. All right, well, let me do something wild and crazy here. If I can find my chip lifter. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to take the new 6522. All right, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to take the old 6522. And all right, well, put it in place of the new one. All right, and then I guess I'll put the new one in place of the old one. They're not mechanical switches. They're the pet style keyboard works the same way as the other Commodore keyboards. It's like contacts on a switch that presses a it may be pet style, but it works the same way as the other Commodore keyboards. Okay, so I swapped 6522s. And now the P key doesn't work. But the equal key works. No, it's not foam and foil, Thomas. It's carbon contact on PCB. Only difference is the font on the keycaps and the fact that it looks like there were more. There's some tape covering some keys that aren't actually. It's like they were going to put a number pad here or something. It's like the only difference. Yeah. So yeah. I sure thought last time I had more keys working than that. I know I had. I mean, the keyboard connector is. Oh, hey, Apple's Anonymous. mean, I'm pretty sure I got it plugged in right because there's a pin missing and there's a wire missing, and those two are lined up. Alright, more contact cleaner. Now, I got a few more keys working. Jeremy, they may be asking, but I don't think that's what they're going for. I don't think they're actually worth that much more. I feel like I overpaid for mine because it's not working. Okay. I'm kind of almost afraid it's the connector on the keyboard. It has corroded pins, and I don't know that I have any way of... There is some corrosion on the connector side that I can see the pins. I've deoxidated it a couple times, Frank. Not with name brand deoxit, but it's contact cleaner. It's the QD contact cleaner. Huh. Well, now I've got more keys working, and all I did was spray more contact cleaner. All right, let me grab another keyboard here. I've got one that's like slightly broken beside me, but I think the slightly broken part is that it's missing a keycap and plunger, or a couple keycaps and plungers. Other than that, as far as I am aware, it is electrically complete. The important thing is the connector's not corroded. Unfortunately, the connectors are... I don't think I would be able to use it as a parts donor. Or, well, I don't really want to have to change the wiring harness. That would probably be my... Oh, and this keyboard... Alright. So, Well, that's weird. Okay, so that keyboard's not working at all. I mean, maybe I want to break down and buy a thing of the actual 100% deoxit, but okay, that keyboard's not. That keyboard's not wanting to work at all right now. At least not on this VIC-20. Hmm. The thing is, I believe the keyboard goes straight to the VIA, so I mean, one thing I could do. Are the wire connections good? I don't know, Thomas. I don't know if the wire connections are good. I can't see the. I mean, on the keyboard I just put on, it was working. The only reason I replaced it was because it's missing keys, and I just decided to buy a whole new keyboard for it instead of keycaps. So, but this keyboard was working, but it doesn't work on this VIC-20. This connector is visibly corroded. I can't see the pins in the keyboard connector, and I don't know that I have a pin remover for this connector. In fact, I'm actually not sure you can remove the pins. I think it's a clamp connector. I mean, I've sprayed contact cleaner into it, and that seemed to be improving things. But all right, good night, Thomas. There was one thing I was thinking of doing, and that is I do have this VIC Zero board that I bought recently. It is missing like all of the significant chips. I could try putting the chips from this original board into here and seeing what they do. See if the keyboard works. But I don't know why that would. Actually, this looks like a even earlier board. I mean, I guess I could give it a try. All right, well, let's take a look at this board. Or I can go grab another VIC-20 and plug that keyboard into it. I think that's what I did last time. I think I grabbed a different computer. Okay, that's kind of weird that I have a pool of contact cleaner on the board or something. It was under the VIA chip. That's kind of weird. I thought that stuff normally flashed off pretty quick. Did I maybe just flood too much contact cleaner on this and then wasn't working because there was just too much contact cleaner? Of course, I didn't think it was conductive. Alright, looks like it's flashed off now. Alright, well that chip is clean. The legs on this chip are clean, so I'll just put them back in. Make sure it's seated. I don't have a USB keyboard that'll fit a Commodore. Okay, let's try it again. It couldn't have been that easy. It was contact cleaner under the socket. I thought this stuff was non-conductive. Of course, it does warn you to allow to dry thoroughly and vent before reactivating. Product may collect and pool in unseen area. Oh, there is a warning on the can about that. Huh. Evaporates quickly and completely. Harmless to most plastic and paper tapes. Oh, maybe this stuff is conductive. Yeah, it looks pretty good now that I discovered there was a pool of contact cleaner under the VIA. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm curious. I'm tempting fate. Granted, it's the fate of I have to replace the other single wipe socket, but alright, so now that contact cleaner has dried, if I swap the VIAs back, will the keyboard still work? Nah. No, I better try that, because I don't know that I have anything to test this other VIA. I don't have a dead test for VIC-20. Okay, I'm not going to spray any more contact cleaner. I'm pretty sure all these contacts are pretty good and clean now. If I get some deoxit, I may reevaluate, but I don't have any deoxit now. Well, I do have deoxit, but it's deoxit fader, and I only use that in potentiometers and faders. Alright, so I'm going to put the new Western Digital chip back in the socket for the keyboard. Put the old one in the old socket. I haven't touched the keyboard cable, so it's still plugged in just the way it was. Alright. Alright, good night, Retro Techie. Thanks for stopping by. Alright, and That was me typing same key twice. Oh. Oh, there we go. Well, that, Alright, I got one key that's... Okay. Alright. One key that's not always pressing, but I see which one it is, so we're going to have to take the keyboard back apart. I am going to have to make a small mod to the keyboard. The slash question mark key is not working, and I believe that's one of the keys I had to add a bodge wire to. That also is like the... Oh, hold on. So, the PCB will not sit flush because of the bodge wires. So I think I need to take this PCB off and make a slight notch for the two bodge wires. And I think that will then allow the PCB to sit flush. And hopefully that will restore the slash key to always working. If not, then I got another problem. So, alright. As much as I didn't want to take this keyboard apart again, it is a key you use in programming, so... Alright. Without further ado, let's... Yep, about 20 screws, but I think the VIA did fix the bulk of the problem, and then I'll reattach the shift lock wires. Fortunately, I can still see my marker note as to which wire goes where, so I would have probably reattached them if I'd realized they weren't soldered. The tape fooled me. Now, it is possible that there are a couple of the contacts on the keyboard. Maybe I'm going to have to get some of that remote repair paint and touch them up. Could especially be true for the ones that were the keys that I had to bodge because the traces broke. Fortunately, it's kind of one of those things. I didn't have a way to do it other than use wires. So, I'm hoping that if I put a little notch in the plastic frame, just enough to let the wire pass under it, that it will not affect the typing action of the keyboard. All right. So there's my bodge wires. Because this was broken and this was broken. These are like paint on traces with some sort of a like coating. So the question mark / key is this one here, I believe. Is that right? Yeah, because that's the shift key. There's question mark /. So it is right beside this wire here. So I think that might have been keeping the board raised up so it wasn't necessarily making good contact. So where is the board need the notch? I think it needs the notch. I think it's here, somewhere here, where I need to put a little relief notch. All right, so if I lay the board flat again, or lay the board into place. And let's see here. Okay, I'm going to lay it into place, and then I'm going to tilt it up a little bit so I can see the wires. So actually, I think that wire there is... Oh, that's... All right, let's do this a little more scientifically, shall we? All right, let me... All right, let me grab my calipers. And from the center of that screw hole to the approximate area where the wire is, about 36 millimeters. So that is going to put that wire right here. So that's kind of where I need a little channel, right there. Now the other wire is probably also going to need a channel. I'm using millimeters because I need well, that's what my calipers are set to at the moment. I mean, if you want, I can switch to inches. Be 1.425 inches, but I just needed to see where the conflict was. Yes, sometimes metric is helpful, even in the US. Ah, you're a metric guy, okay. Well, I occasionally use metric, and in this case, I'm using metric because that's what my calipers were set to, and I really just needed to know what the offset was. Hi, Rudy, welcome. I am trying to figure out where I need to make some relief cuts as much as I don't want to because I've got to account for the bodge wires I had to put on the keyboard. Unfortunately, there's no like through-hole vias where I can put the wire through the other side of the keyboard. Shame, Mitsumi. this wasn't a pet style keyboard, I'd just replace the PCB with one from another keyboard. Unfortunately, the shift lock works different, so I can't just use the PCB on the other keyboard that I've got beside me, because I don't think don't think the well, first of all, oh yeah, okay, first of all, where the cable comes out is different, so yeah, I wouldn't be able to use that anyways, because the frames are different. PCB wouldn't fit. Fixing membranes from Amiga keyboards using conductive glue and some aluminum tape. Well, I don't have conductive glue. I mean, I have some copper tape. But I'd still have the problem that the solder joint is going to be in this area of the keyboard. For this repair here, the solder joint is going to be below solid plastic. Copper tape. Well, copper tape would work, but copper tape would not work. I would have. I really don't want to replace my bodge wires because I risk the keyboard. I already had trouble with them. I don't know that I can solder it flat. I don't know that I can solder it flat. Hmm. My hesitation more is I really don't want to remove the bodge because it works. Because I risk messing the keyboard up. You know, the problem is it's not like I can replace this keyboard. The pet style PCB is different from the other Commodore keyboards. Well, actually, Francois, it is broke. The slash key is not there were like two keys around the bodge that were not quite working correctly. The slash key was like intermittent, and the I think it was the M key was kind of getting stuck down, which the M key is going to be like this one here. No, Rudy, it's not a pet board. It's a pet style keyboard board for a VIC-20. Yeah. So those are the two bodges. It's got to be the thing is, I could definitely replace this with copper tape. I don't have any nail polish, and my UV solder mask skills are deplorable. I mean, if I use copper tape here, I can cut it thin enough. I'm not worried about shorting that. And the solder joint will be on the other side of the piece of plastic that's causing interference. So that would let that lay flat. Now, the problem with this one here is that wire is going to be about right here, which about right here. So I've gone from using metric to using, oh, you can't see that. Let me zoom. There we go. Zoom the other way. It's going to be about right here. So I've gone from using metric to using about right here's. So there you can see the edge of my tool there, which is about where the wire is. And there's like a whole bunch of solid plastic there that I don't really want to notch. So there's not a lot of height. There's not really anywhere for a big, thick solder joint. I know, Joe. But the thing is, it's got to lay flat or it's going to cause binding issues. I don't have any... Well, that's not entirely true. I don't want to admit to having nail polish. Joe says, heck, use Captain Tape. Well, yeah. If I admit to having nail polish, then it might give away the gag for a video. Jesse says there's no shame in owning nail polish. Well, okay. Joe's... Alright, let's attempt to fix this one broken trace at a time. I don't want to have to sell my pet style VIC-20 for keyboard for parts, because I overpaid for it. I way overpaid for this thing. Rudy says I can drill... No, I can't drill through the board, Rudy. I cannot drill through the board. And that is not a statement of inability. That is a statement of lack of tools. I do not have any drill bits small enough to do a proper job. Plus, I still have the problem of it's got to lay flat. I'll use copper tape. I've been convinced. Copper tape. Final answer. Try to at least make a... Yeah, the Oh, that's not good. Well, the pad. I lost the pad. Oh, great. Define proper. I do not have any PCB drill bits. That would be proper. Jesse's saying, remember, a D gets degrees, even if it's a cosmetic D. Joe says, I love how they drilled random holes to change the key matrix. Well, unfortunately, there's not a random hole where I need it. Yeah, I need the PCB to lay flat. That is criteria number one. Otherwise, I'm going to have trouble with the keys. Criteria number two is that I don't ruin it. Because there's probably no getting another pet style keyboard. That bodge wire has, I don't know what the thickness is, but it's thicker than copper tape. I really don't know how thick the wire I used is. It's 30 gauge wire, but I don't know that they rated how thick the insulation is. And I've got a new problem I lost my pad, so now I gotta find a gentle tool to scrape solder mask away. Oh, there's bare copper there. Okay. I can take isolation out. 5 give times at they're saying at least 5 times the copper tape. Yeah. I can take isolation out and put the bodge wire near this big green line. I'm not following you. No, I lost the pad here. I'm trying to find the tool for scraping away solder mask. I am going to do copper tape, but I lost my pad. I have nothing to solder to. I also have a bare copper there, so I can't put copper tape over that without insulating it. So I'm like, Joe says the tool for scraping solder mask is anything sharp. Well, Joe, I'm trying to find the tool for scraping solder mask, but not that because the blade is dull, and I can't find my package of blades. Never underestimate my ability to misplace the exact items I need until I no longer need them. I'm trying not to pull out my Dremel because it might be too rough on this PCB. That's the only reason I haven't pulled the Dremel out. I'm trying to find, I've got a fiberglass pin. I'm trying to find that. Oh, no, the problem is the bodge wire needs to go from here to here. There's nothing exposed here anymore to put the bodge wire on because the pad just came right off the board. Oh, you're telling me to put it beside that. Okay, well. Yes, if I put it beside this, it'll be lower, but I have a routing problem in that I have to go to that point there. But I gotta find something to abrade it, but not my dull knife, because that's more dangerous than a sharp knife. but I can't find my fiberglass pin. I can't find the... I don't know what I did with my package of scalpel blades. I misplaced them and have yet to find them. The ironic thing is I probably misplaced them on my bench. I've probably misplaced the fiberglass pin on my bench, too. No, I don't like using dull knives. They're dangerous. Well, I guess it did scrape solder mask, though. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting flustered. This repair is not going as planned. I get flustered when repairs don't go as planned. Well, it doesn't help I know I overpaid for the computer. I'm still declining to say how much I spent for it because I can't handle that kind of channel engagement. Alright, I'm working on it. Alright, so I'm gonna cut a little thin piece of copper tape. Really the reason why I needed my scalpel blade, not really to scrape the solder mask, but for me to cut the copper tape. That's why I really kind of need a sharp blade. But I misplaced them, so I'll just have to make do with the dull blade. Okay. So. Well, I guess oh, that's probably thicker than I wanted. There's that, and then I need to put something here. Insulate that bare copper spot, because otherwise it's going to short to my... Alright, let me go run upstairs and grab the nail polish that I don't own. Actually, there was another reason I didn't want to use it. Remember, I said I bought it for a gag for a video. So it's not just simply blue. It's, well, it's got something in it that could be conductive. So this may actually not help me at all. Obviously, I haven't released the video and possibly haven't made the video yet, so Well, I just may have to delay it so that you all completely forget that I even have this in my hand. Because I was going for a surprise factor, not, And I need something to... Okay, I need something non-conductive to put this on, a little small patch on, so that I can let it dry and then make sure it's not conductive. Because it's got something in it. It's not just like a solid color. It's got something in it. 30 gauge. 30 gauge was too thick for the keyboard. That was the problem I was having. It was causing the... Yeah, it's sparkly. It was causing the keyboard to... The PC... Yeah, I may have to use Captain Tape. I may very well have to use Captain Tape, because... Well, at least dries very quickly. The thickness of 30 gauge wire was preventing the PCB from laying flat against the plastic. Actually, I'm also realizing that the color of that nail polish is not going to help for the gag I was trying to go for. So looks like I might be buying another bottle anyways. Then it looks like it was going to be the wrong shade of blue. I don't know how thick the copper tape is, because I didn't see I'd never had the label to know how thick it is. The copper tape is thinner than 30 gauge wire. Well, the thing is, it's not just the 30 gauge wire, it's the insulation that's on the 30 gauge wire. That was part of the problem. Alright. How do people stand to paint their nails? This thing is like still smells like acetone, and it's been drying for several minutes. Ugh. Okay, believe me, when I was young, I would sometimes pull out grandma's bottles of nail polish and do silly things with them, but I don't know how man, ugh. Maybe it's just my sense of smell has changed. Yes, I also disassembled or tried disassembling electronic stuff too, so don't worry. All right. There we go. Is it blue scuzzy blue? Well, that wasn't the blue I was going for. Um, it might be blue scuzzy blue. It's sturdy sapphire. I recently inhaled lead fumes and didn't say anything, and now you're complaining about your nail polish. Well, acetone is a different beast than, well, actually, the fumes that come off the soldering while you're soldering, that's actually not the lead, that's actually the flux. Francois says, disassembling is easy, reassembling is harder. Alright, so I am going to try with, like, the smallest amount of flux so that I can clean it off the easiest. I do have to clean it completely off the board. And I'm also going to all right. Okay, now let's see if that is making contact. Oh, Brady's saying don't forget the captain tape. All right, so it looks like I have. Okay, under the copper. I put a little piece of captain tape uh, on the bare spot of the copper. Why, was I supposed to do something more? Yeah, I got the spot I was concerned about. I was I was complaining about the smell of nail polish while I was doing it, so you were probably distracted by my dissertation on acetone smells awful. But yeah, I got it. All right, so I will clean my. All right, so yeah, I don't usually use. Ugh. Oh, I guess while we're in the meantime, is this actually conductive? Oh, well, I just got nail polish on my multimeter probe because that is still not dry. Well, no wonder I'm smelling it. All right, let me make sure that I still have a solder joint. Yep. All right, I do. I'm kind of thinking that maybe I should put a little bit of Captain tape. No, that'll be fine. That's not going to move. Okay, so let's get this one here. And hopefully I can get the solder up and not break the trace. So it needs to go from here to here. And I will go ahead and put a little piece of Captain tape there just because I think there might be some exposed copper there. I can't tell. So I will put a little piece of Captain tape there just to be sure. I don't have any Amiga computers at the moment. That is not to say that I might not get another Amiga at some point, but I don't have any Amigas at the moment. All right. There we go. There's a little piece of Captain Tape there. That'll protect that. Now, this is going to be the fun one because I gotta... Let me see if I can make a thinner strip here. All right. So, we need to go from here. And I'm going to try to follow this big thick trace here. And then we'll come down. And we'll right there. All right. There we go. All right. Good night, Frank. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, I think that's a bodge. Let's just say that I've done my best to keep this as flat as possible, and if it still doesn't work, then maybe I gotta try the remote contact restoration stuff. The stuff for TV remotes. All right, let me clean the flux off the board, and then I'll check for continuity. All right, I am fairly sure that that is pretty flat. Yeah, I think that looks pretty flat. All right, I might have been a little worried to do it, but all right, so we got continuity from there to there. So all right, I think we got continuity. All right. So, without knocking over my thing of isopropyl alcohol, I'm sure I'll eventually knock it over, but haven't done it yet. Waste not, want not. Okay, so it's also possible that I might have spring issues on some of these keys. I may need to give this a... I actually was sent this copper tape by Gut Bomb because he had a roll that he wasn't using. I think, I suspect that he might have got it from like a home improvement store. It's not I don't think this, at least the roll I have, is not a special roll. I think it's just generic copper tape. And I think That is fitting a lot flatter. Alright, well, if I gotta disassemble this again, it's not because the wires that I've got... Not because I've got wires that are pushing the board away from the button, the keys. Alright, so I'm going to start in the middle-ish. And I'll kind of start putting screws in kind of an outward pattern. All right. Rudy's saying just put a few screws in for testing. Yeah, I just want to make sure I had the board as flat as possible in this area because I was having trouble with it. So let me put a couple corner screws in. Yeah, Gut Bum said I needed it for one tiny project and didn't need it again. Oh, shielding a video scaler board. We'll get the four corners. All right, so we've got... All right, so it's not totally flat there. Well, actually, I think that's pretty much... Actually, looking at that now, I don't think I'd be able to get that much flatter. That actually looks... I think that looks almost stock anyways. I don't think... Short of someone finding this live stream, you'd know that I did that. Short of finding the live stream or taking the keyboard apart. If it doesn't work now, it's probably because I need to get that remote control repair contact paint and repaint some of the pads. Yeah, that looks pretty flat. All right, I'm glad you all convinced me to try it. I'm hoping it'll... All right. There we go. Whoops. Uh-oh. That's annoying. Okay, I don't know if that's because I just don't have it screwed together. Well, the good news is I got the slash working, but the bad news is I got a bunch of keys that don't work. I don't know if that's because I don't have screws in. Interestingly enough, the ones that are working are not around my repair area. Hmm. All right, I think I'm about to put some more screws in to know. I've already. How many times do I have to clean this keyboard? I mean, seriously, I mean, other than the contacts I worked on tonight, which maybe aren't clean, I cleaned all of the contacts on the keyboard. So you could probably argue that I need to maybe touch up the ones I around my repair area tonight. Yeah, I already did it. But I'm gonna take the screws back out to double check things. But I already cleaned it last week. And in fact, before I did the repair, I had all the keys working except like the two keys on the bottom row nearest the wires were not always working, and I chalked it up to the fact that the PCB was pushed out from the key, so it was requiring more travel distance. Because it seemed like it would always work if you pressed it hard, but that's why I took the thing apart and changed my bodge wires for copper tape. I thought I had a problem because the PCB was pushed out on the bottom because the insulation on those wires was pushing it out. I know how it works. Yeah. Also, if anyone was wondering when I would spill the thing of isopropyl alcohol, well, apparently I did it while testing the VIC-20. Yeah. I don't have any of the contact or the stuff you paint on the key plungers. I don't have a reason to believe that that's worn out on this keyboard. It's not a guarantee that you have to redo that. I mean, looking at the plungers, they all do look dull, and I don't see any that are like, I don't think any are dirty. But I went over them just to clean them. Yeah, I think I went over the plungers last time. I'm pretty sure I went over the plungers too last time. I know I cleaned the PCB, but I'm going to give it another clean because I had to use some flux to keep the solder flat. You know, I don't really need to clean all the pads. I just need to clean the ones that are around my repair area. Just making sure that I didn't get any flux. It's probably just I didn't have all the screws in, but I'm just going to be taking extra couple seconds here. I don't think I cleaned anything off. Yeah, I'll put it back together here in a moment. I just wanted to double check that I didn't have like some silly problem. Oh, like this. There's a piece of debris on the board. All right. All of these copper pads look shiny. I just went over the ones that were around the repair area to make sure there wasn't any stray flux. I mean, maybe that one's just a little bit dull, but probably my imagination. All right. All right. I will let that dry off. I'm going to take a look. One last look at the plungers. Quite honestly, I'm hoping not to have to take this apart. Oh, good night, Morphus. Or Mophus, or... All right. I'm just going to make sure there's nothing... Dry Q-tips that I pulled straight out of the package. There's no dust or anything on them. Still thinking I may have to pull this apart one last time just to clean the frame, because I think there might be some dirt or something between some of these plungers. All right. All right. I'm pretty sure all the plungers are dull. I don't see any, like, oh, I forgot the spacebar one. All right. There's that. All right. Keyboard PCB is not quite dry. It's got some alcohol here in the corner. All right. Let's put it back together. It looks like it's good and dry now. All right. For real. I'll put all the screws back in. I guess I'll work my way. Left to right. All right. My captain tape off here to hold the wires in place. I got to resolder these wires back. Those are the shift lock wires. What did Mitsumi do? The same on this keyboard? Well, the shift lock still is soldered. I guess it's a latch and key. How is it different? Well, instead of there being like two component lead type solder wires, it's like two wires. Honestly, feels a bit flimsier on this keyboard. I think I like the way they did it on newer keyboards. You know, what would be really cool is if someone could design a replacement PCB for these original keyboards. So that if your problem was with the PCB, then you could just replace the PCB. And maybe optionally, maybe do a multi-layer PCB so you could run those, or two-layer PCB so you could run those traces on like the backside instead of as like conductive paint over traces. I mean, nothing against the projects that make whole new keyboards for these computers. Because sometimes the keyboards are just too far gone, but sometimes you just need to, like, a replacement PCB for the keyboard you have. Oh, good night, Francois. Or, oh, yeah. Yeah, they never expected to be used 40 years later, that's for sure. Because actually, this keyboard, I think, got some water in it, like the rest of the system, and I think that's what caused those two traces in the keyboard to be broken, was just water sitting between the plastic keyboard frame and the PCB for possibly a extended amount of time. I don't know that the system had like continuous water. I mean, maybe it was like under a roof leak and it just had water dripping on it in a certain spot for a long time and that kept it wet. I mean, it could have also just been that the water got in and due to the fact that it got trapped between the PCB and the plastic, it was just able to. Well, let me leave those two wires desoldered until I test the keyboard. So I got it all screwed together. So hopefully I mean, it is quite possible I may need to break down and buy some better contact cleaner and try to clean the keyboard connector contacts. That could be part of the problem. All right. Oh, I gotta... Oh, delete key was stuck. Interesting. All right. The 2 key's not working. Okay. Contact cleaner on the keyboard connector. Again. Oh, I just lost the straw. Oh well. All right. Oh, plus and minus are not working. P key is not working. So plus and minus. Oh, there. Plus, minus, P. Must have been contact cleaner related. All right. Good night, Rudy. All right. I think, I think the keyboard's working. I think I just need good contact cleaner to clean the keyboard connector and on both ends, which I would define as actual deoxit and not the generic stuff. I mean, I've got some deoxit fader, but I certainly don't need the lubricant. Oh, fun fact. The deoxit can will conduct electricity. Bet you didn't know that. Alright, well, I don't need the lubricant, but maybe the deoxit will work better. Well, it makes inserting and removing the connector a whole lot easier. Also, I think the deoxit is non-conductive, so turn off equipment, apply a few short bursts, wait a few seconds, reapply one burst, wait 2 minutes before turning on equipment. Alright. It does say to wait. Alright. Well. Okay. So I will wait a minute or two before I turn this back on. I'll at least clean up some of my overspray on the PCB area. So that was deoxit fader, which means it's going to have a lubricant in it because it's designed for faders. Should be fine on contacts. All right. All right. We'll let that dry a moment. I'm going to poke the hole in one of my gloves anyway, so. And now I got deoxit fader on the other one so that I have a good grip on things. And so I don't get deoxit all over the keyboard. I'll just go ahead and change gloves here real quick. And no, if anyone's wondering, it's not because I'm trying to hide painted fingernails. I haven't made the video yet that was going to have the gag in it, so. And besides, the nail polish is the wrong color. I'll have to go find another bottle. Okay, I think that's been long enough. We'll turn it back on and let's see if maybe it's got even better conductivity. No, it doesn't. Okay, I'm tempted to plug this keyboard into another Commodore computer and see what it does. All right, I guess let me go grab another VIC-20. One that uses the same style power connectors so that I don't have to find the other power adapter. All right. So I've got the bottom half to, I think this was the first VIC-20 I bought. It's the one that I ended up finding that I had a bad static RAM on it. So I'll plug the PET style keyboard into it. All right. Oh, hey, Jack. Oh, there we go. Oh. Okay, so. So, it looks like this keyboard, all the keys work. Ah, Jack says I'm home at a reasonable time on a Tuesday night for a change. Yes, you are. It is a reasonable time. No, this is the PET style keyboard I took a second stab at my bodge to make sure that the PCB set's flat. It's a different VIC-20. I'm trying to narrow down where the problem is, and I'm thinking the problem is the keyboard connector in the VIC-20. I'm thinking that's actually the problem. The keyboard, because it's not the VIA, because I got a brand new VIA. Okay, let me go put this VIC-20 back. So let's do something wild and crazy here. Let's take this VIC-0 board from last week. The VIC-0 because there's no VIC chip in it. I don't know if it works. But let's pull but the keyboard connector looks good. So I'm tempted to pull all of the chips out of this board and put them in this board and see if I still have keyboard trouble. So those are not my blue dots. The problem is I'm having poor keyboard functionality. But I just put the PET style keyboard in another VIC-20 and all the keys work. But if I put them on the original motherboard that was in the PET style case, no matter how many times I contact clean, it does help to have power first. I seemingly have keys that just don't work. For example, although they may work this time. Oh, of course it's going to work now. Okay, was it another case of contact cleaner still evaporating? I don't know, it's almost like I don't know, I almost... Well, contact cleaner shouldn't be conductive, but the liquid that carries it could be somewhat. Alright, I'm going to flex the keyboard cable another way. Well, I mean... it's working good now. I don't get it. And yet I'm afraid if I pull the keyboard off, solder the two wires, and reconnect it, that it's going to act up again. Well, I guess let me put my fear to the test. Jiggle stuff and see if it's borked. Well, let me solder the two shift block wires on, because they're hanging free and it's bothering me, and I keep having to make sure they're not shorting against stuff. Oh, also, I guess they did just simply solder them to the terminal. Oh, alright. Well, I can handle that. There's not like a... Did they really just glob solder on those and stick them there? I guess so. Oh, you can't see what I'm looking at. Because there's where the two shift lock wires go. And it's not like there's a little place for the wire to slip into before I solder it. I think they really did just intend for these to be just kind of... There we go. Alright. Yeah, Jack says, that's lovely. Yeah. Alright, well, I will at least do something civilized and put a piece of Captain tape over that to kind of protect it. And I did write black and red, and luckily I didn't manage to wipe both of them off by accident. Yeah, that's also... Yeah, that's very Commodore, Jack says. Yeah, that's very Commodore. Yes, that is very...
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. In a world of fun and fantasy, and ever-changing views, and computer terminology, Commodore is news. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Yeah, sometimes the host needs to give you a distraction while he fights with the end of the Captain tape. There we go. Alright. I just wanted to put a piece of tape there just to kind of strain relief those connections. Alright. Now, let's plug the keyboard back in. And if it doesn't immediately act up, I will start to jiggle things. Yeah, that's... Yeah, that's looking good. So shift lock. Confirmed. Shift lock works. Shift lock key is kind of grindy. Could probably use some contact cleaner in it. Oh, no, it probably just needs some use. Yeah, that it's actually feeling better already. Well, alright, couldn't tell you why the keyboard was being so... problematic, but it actually seems to be working now. So what have I done? This is the recap of this part. So replace the corroded socket, put in the new Western Design Center 6522. For anyone wondering, that is a 6522, or the WDC. Oh wait, no, the part is a W65 C22 N6 TPG-14. I think the N stands for NMOS compatible, so that's the version you want for drop-in compatibility with an older system. Anyways, yeah, ordered that brand new from Mouser. Totally works. You don't want the S version for a computer that uses the standard 6522. And that was probably cheaper than me buying a 6522 used MOS brand on eBay. And besides, it's made on a modern process, so it's probably more reliable. And the good thing is, I have another one. I ordered 2. So I've got another spare. So, yeah. And then I fixed my bodge that was on my keyboard. So I went from a 30 gauge wire bodge to a copper tape bodge. So I think the keyboard works better. The PCB is actually sitting flat. And then I've contact cleaned the gajibers out of the keyboard connector. So I was actually tempted. I wanted to recap a VIC-20 that was having color issues. To see if the color issues got better. Interestingly enough, this one is... So on the... Hold on. Okay, I don't know what the colors look like. Oh. Okay, I don't know what the colors look like on your end. Because I have like 3 different monitors. I just realized the color on the monitor to my left is like really bad in comparison to the monitor in front of me. But I think you're probably still seeing the background's a bit darker gray than it should be. And the blue's kind of darker than it should be. Joe's saying everything's dark. But honestly, I think after it's been running for a few minutes, it seems like it might be looking a little better than it was. So someone had the theory that the dark colors could be bad caps in the video circuit. It could also just be my scaler hates VIC-20s. I mean, come on. It could be the scale. It could totally be the scaler. Yeah, I think it may be the scaler. I'm kind of hesitant to just recap VIC-20s. What I'd really like to do, though, is test my VIC-0 board, but I don't really want to pull chips at this point. You know, maybe if I recap a board, maybe I can start with one that's not an old one. Actually, you know, I'm not going to recap this board. We're just not going to recap a VIC-20. I think instead maybe I should put the VIC-20 back together. Although I'm hesitant to do that because I think before I put this VIC-20 back together, I'd like to let it sit for a couple days and then power it up and see if I have trouble with the keyboard connector again. Because if I do, then I probably do need to order some deoxit. So I think for now, I'm just going to set this VIC-20 to the side. I'm not going to put it back together just yet. I want to come back to it. Maybe we'll come back to it on Thursday at the very beginning of the stream just to see, is it still working? We're not going to work on it Thursday. If it's not working, that'll be more as a informational piece, and it'll also prompt me to order Deoxit. So I'm not going to put this back together tonight. We're just going to set it to the side, and we can go to... Oh, I'm sure I've got something else Commodore related we can look at. It's actually, I'm just going to not recap a VIC-20. I kind of put in the thumbnail the thought that I might, but we're not going to. What was... I had the... Oh. All right, let me, let's hold a moment while I try to remember what parts I have for Commodore stuff. There is something that we haven't taken a look at on the channel. And it's Commodore. So it fits the theme. Let me go grab one of my other Commodore computers. And I'll put this to the side. Okay, I got the Commodore. Let me find its power adapter. Alright, I've got its power adapter. Now let me find the power adapter its power adapter plugs into. In the meantime, will get you tempted into thinking what marvelous things we'll find here. All right. And there, I've got my Commodore 128 power. Oh, actually, there is something we will recap here in a moment. It's just not the VIC-20. But it is Commodore. And it's only because I'm not putting this power supply back together without recapping it first. There we go. So in order to not have to buy a whole bunch of power bricks, I bought an adapter to be able to plug a Commodore 128 power supply into a Commodore Plus 4. So, all right, we will plug the composite video cable in for the, most minimal of video quality. So I'm going to plug my Commodore 128 power supply into the Plus 4. Now, you might remember that this Plus 4 had a dead CPU, according to the seller. Well, I've got a surprise for you. If I can remember where the power switch is. Oh, there it is. I have fixed it by buying an adapter from Monotech PCs, I believe it was. that adapts a 6502 to be compatible with the Plus 4. It has the 74 series logic on it to replace the extra functionality on the whatever the processor is that goes in here. Jeremy says, Commodore's failed attempt at a business computer. This thing is not a business computer. You are not convincing me that businesses were going to buy this. Oh, wait, they didn't. So, the weird thing about this computer is, and I haven't been able to figure out how it works because I haven't bothered to look up the manual. So anyways, oh, whoops. Here's my hot take. Joe says it does other things too, but yeah. Actually, Joe, I thought this used the 8510 CPU or something like that. I actually have the CPU that was in here somewhere. I think it's in here in my bad chip bag. Oh, what do you know? There's MOS chips in here. Near the top. How interesting. Is that it right there? Oh, no. Nope, that's not it. Well, I thought I had the processor in here somewhere. It's just probably gotten mixed in. Anyways, yeah. Anyways, so you're supposed to be able to press function 1, and it runs the 3+1, which pressing function 1 gives you the sys 1525. Oh, there says it uses the 6510. Okay. Jeremy wonders if Commodore would have been better off if they hadn't developed the TED systems. I think they still had the Amiga advertising problem. So, I've been able to get it to go to the word processor. So, this is a story about my Commodore Plus 4. It had a bad CPU, but that's fixed now. Also, the keyboard looks nice, but isn't great for typing. Thanks for attending my misspelling build ed talk. Well, that's not quite right. Oh, I guess it could be a TED talk because this is a TED system. I was thinking, wait a minute, I can't call it a TED talk because that's a TED. Oh, there we go. A Commodore TED talk. There. Thanks for. There we go. It's my Commodore TED talk. it's really not great for typing. And I don't have a printer to print this story out. And I forgot to capitalize the first letter. I think my English teacher is going to mark points off for it's not double spaced, and I forgot to capitalize that, and I'm pretty sure misspelling filled is not something you want to admit to an English teacher. And I forgot the comma after all, so yeah. Not a great story. Don't think any publisher is going to be pounding at my door to publish this thing. At least they aren't dead flesh keys. Yeah. It has some redeeming qualities. It's at least not it's not like you're trying to type on a ZX80. I'd like to figure out how to get to the other 3-in-1 apps. Because I don't know what you're supposed to do here. But anyways. It'd help if I'd read the manual. But anyways. My +4 does appear to work now. So with that Monotech adapter, so that I didn't have to go buy a used MOS CPU that could fail. It's got the adapter. I don't know. I installed it one evening just because I wanted to make sure it worked after I got it. And the keyboard ribbon cable in here is like very fragile and starting to come apart, so I'm not going to open this up to show you what's in it. There's other videos on YouTube that you can see what a +4 looks like inside, but Jeremy says ZX80 keyboard equals typing on an unripened watermelon. Joe says there are variants of the 6510 that have differing numbers of I/O pins and all that jazz. Yeah, and I think the +4 has one of those variants, but it's not the same as some of the other Commodores that use other variants. So, Jack's laughing at that. Yeah. Anyway, so my +4 now works. Yay. So now what I would like to do, Gutbomb says there are adapter PCBs now. Yes. Basically, that's what I did. I bought one of those adapter PCBs, except because the +4 doesn't have enough room in it at the CPU socket to socket the 6502 processor. And because I didn't want to have to buy more than one PCB, because I'm not planning on buying +3 more. See what I did there? I went ahead and bought a fully assembled unit from Monotech PCs, figuring that they would assemble it and test it, because the 6502 had to be soldered into place. Sure, I could replace that if it failed, but it was kind of one of those that by the time I was buying the adapter, one adapter with the SMD done from New Zealand and paying shipping, the actual extra cost to have them go ahead and assemble the whole thing and test it, including a processor, I was like, I'm just going to let them do it because the thing's got to be soldered together so it fits in the computer. If it was going in any of the other Commodores where there's a little more space in the case, because I think the processor is like down here in the bottom, so there's not a lot of vertical clearance, I'd probably have bought the kit and not had them include the CPU, because I do have a 6502 or 2 floating around. Jeremy says, I have a replacement keyboard design for the Sinclair computers. Okay. That's cool. Still doesn't, I don't have a lot of nostalgia for the Sinclair computers because, well, they would have been the ones that I really never didn't hear about growing up. Well, other than in the book Basic Programming for Kids by Roz Alt, because they were in the book, although the Sinclair computers that were supported by the book couldn't run the final program because they didn't have enough RAM. Yeah, 2K of RAM. That Gut Bomb says because they're garbage. Yeah, probably why I don't have nostalgia for them. All right. So, this is my Commodore 128 power supply. As you can see, it is not potted. I know some people were thinking, you can't recap these because they're potted. Yeah, the keyboards were garbage. That's why Jeremy had to design a replacement. The original keyboards are garbage. In fact, my ZX80 keyboard, my ZX80 clone's keyboard is like hot garbage. Probably irreparable hot garbage, but that's beside the point. Okay, somewhere I have the cap kit for this thing. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. Well, I would have thought that I would have put the cap kit with the rest of my cap kits, but no, of course not. That would have been too easy. These are all Apple ones. Oh, that's weird. Okay. Hold please while I look for the cap kits that aren't with the rest of the cap kits, because apparently. Oh wait, did I? No, I didn't already recap that. Hold please. Gotta find the cap kits for Commodores. I knew I wasn't keeping up with something, and apparently it was the cap kit that I know I ordered for that. Oh wait, I know where it is. It would be setting with the Commodore 128. Oh, probably in this box. VIC-20, Commodore 128, VIC-20, 20, Found it. It was with the in the box that it came in still. Jeremy says the Sinclairs are more of a curiosity for us mercans. Um, well, I mean, if I can get my clone up and running someday, I will. But I did figure out one thing about it. I thought that it had bad RAM in it, but thanks to the magic of putting the RAM in a Commodore to test, I don't think it has bad RAM in it. So whatever's wrong with it is probably related to the keyboard's hot garbage. All right. Now this was plugged in, so I am fully expecting that caps might still have a charge. It is unplugged now because I got the plug right here. Let me flip it out and I'm just going to check the voltage on the caps. I can figure out where the cap leads are. I think that's one of them right there. Oh, there's no voltage on that one. And I think that is the high voltage cap? Nope. I think the high voltage cap is going to be one of these two. And there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Yeah, they're discharged. We're good. Jeremy, it's a ZX80. There is no ULA. Or it's a ZX80 clone. There is no ULA. It's all 74 series logic chips. All of which I've tested that will go in my tester. I think I've tested the RAM. The only thing that I haven't been able to do is figure out a way to fix the keyboard. Because it's a silly membrane that gets glued to the... It's a conductive foil piece that has very slight bumps on the top with a adhesive layer in the middle, and it gets glued to the PCB, and I think there's a couple trace breaks on the PCB, but yeah, if you've got a ZX81, I would not bother attempting to see what it would be like to downgrade, because I think the ZX81 fixed a few problems the ZX80 had. Partly the completely non-standard video signal. I want to say that the ZX81 at least might have had some fix for the video signal. I think it might be I think there's a mode where it doesn't have to blank the screen to draw it, for one. But yeah, the reason why I haven't worked on it on a live stream is because the video signal is so non-standard, my scaler doesn't like it, my capture card doesn't like it, and it's really hard to even read it plugging it into a real TV. So right there, I can't really easily show you what I'm doing. And B, I'd really like to just find a replacement keyboard label piece. But I'm just going to have to figure out a way to make my own repairs to the keyboard, so... Alright, so this power supply has 5 caps on it. I don't know if they're leaking or not. I just wanted to recap it because it's a power supply. It's what I do. Oh, and I think Oh, that cap is glued to the other two. Lovely. Oh, and I think I measured the wrong points for... Well, that's fine. It's been unplugged long enough. Alright, I think those are those 3 caps that are all glued together, so I'm fully expecting they're going to come out together. Alright, so the one on this side is a 10 volt 4700 microfarad. And then the two beside it are 25 volt 3300 microfarad. And luckily they were in parallel, so I know what the polarity is. And that means there's 2 more caps. Oh, and they're going to be smaller. So let's take a look at the board. Underneath those caps, and well, I don't think they were leaking. I think that's just glue that was on the board, but this very well could just be I'm proactively doing it because I'm a bit leery of Commodore power supplies from the era. I mean, they are United Chemicon caps, so Siamese triplets, yeah, something like that. Although I don't know that they're necessarily the highest quality of caps from United Chemicon. Instead of having a rubber bottom, they seem to have a PCB bottom. Okay, well, that one's actually... Okay, that one was in spec. That one's in spec. Okay, well, I guess they were still in spec. They don't smell like fish. They did smell a little funny desoldering them, though, so... I don't know, maybe... I don't know, maybe I've prevented them from leaking. Okay, I think the next cap is... I'm just going to go ahead and remove them all. Okay. So that one is a little 50 volt, 10 microfarad. I'll test that one shortly. And let's see, there should be a fifth cap in here somewhere. Oh, there it is. It's right. Oh, nice and inconvenient to get to. All right, excellent. My favorite kind. All right. Jeremy says it's probably because they're old. Yeah. I mean, they will eventually start to leak. All capacitors will eventually leak if they've got a liquid electrolyte. Oh, I don't think that might be an... Oh, no, that's a United Chemicon. That's a 10 volt, 220 microfarad. And it looks like on this board, the negative... Yeah, the negative terminal is marked with a dot on the side where the negative goes. So... Right, there is no electrolyte on the PCB, so I'm not gonna... There's nothing to clean. This is one of my... I'm recapping it before it needs it. So the replacement caps that I received in my Console 5 kit are... Alright, so this one here for the cap I just removed is a Panasonic, I believe. And... Ooh, another Panasonic. And I'm not sure what brand that is because I don't... I think it might be another Panasonic. And then to United Chemicon. Excellent. All decent caps. Alright, so let's go ahead and put the hardest one to replace back in. Only because it's kind of got to go... I may actually, to make it easier to put the cap in, I'm going to remove the coil that is in front of where the cap goes. Alright. So I removed the coil temporarily. Now I should be able to reach where the cap goes. If I can find where I set the cap down, that is. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, it goes like way... Let me zoom in. It goes in right there. And so you kind of see the dots that are the negative terminal. So there's where that one goes, right there. And then I'll... All right. Now, the coil that I had to remove to get that cap in easier goes right in front of it. Right there and there. Those two pads there. You can probably see why I had to remove it. All right. There we go. Coil's back in place. All right. Now, we've got the 4700. Oh, excellent. So the original was a 10 volt. The replacement's a 16 volt. Yeah, these are kind of sketchy, but I think the C64 ones are even more sketchy. Okay, so this one is not going to... I don't think it's going to... Oh, okay, so it'll fit. It's not going to fit quite as close to the board as the original, but I just realized I need to replace these two first. I mean, I'll probably buy an aftermarket replacement at some point. But at the moment, this power supply is working. And I think it's the Commodore 64 ones that are prone to just kind of decide one day to forget how to 5 volt, and then they're like, oh, I think I'm going to randomly send like 20 bazillion volts to your Commodore 64. Bzzzt. I wasn't as aware that the Commodore 128 ones were as bad, although still, figured I would at least give it one less reason to decide to do the Commodore 64 power brick. All right, so there we go. There's those two caps, and now we've got this one here. The negative goes that way. I do like the fact that Console 5 did up the voltage rating of this cap. It's quite possibly more suited for the voltage rail it's on than 10 volt. And last but not least, we have this cute little cap here. That goes right like that. There. Now, of course, if anyone knows that these power supplies are just as likely as the C64 power bricks to send the MOS chips to the great big dead chip bag that's under my bench, they'll let me know. But although at least there's one good thing about these bricks is it's not potted, so you can actually inspect it. All right, there we go. Now, I think I'm going to just leave the factory flux alone because it's not hurting anything, and I'll just make a bigger mess trying to clean it up. All right. So I think this goes around this way. That goes on that way. And there's like a little rubber pad on the inside to dampen the transformer buzz. I know that's what that has to be. And then if I put it together right, then there we go. And now I can put the screws back in it. Now, the really cool thing is I got this power supply at the swap meet for like $10, so and it's in decent shape. So other than it's dirty, but I think we'll take a paper towel to it here in a moment. Take a different screwdriver here. Yeah, that gaff tape adds a certain je ne sais quoi. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm fairly sure that if gaff tape fixed a Commodore computer, Jack Trammell would have said, ship it. If that was the fix. I mean, he might have said, all right, make sure the gaff tape has chicken lips on it, then ship it. But, yeah. I can see the Commodore user manual. Your Commodore computing experience has been enhanced by the required Commodore rubber adhesive tape. It will allow your Commodore computer to work for many years. Footnote on page, don't ask our engineers how much boron's in our chips. Oh wow, that's actually cleaning up quite nice. And maybe someday I'll bother cleaning the inside of the vent, but I just want to get it so that kind of clean it a little bit so that I don't feel like totally grossed out by handling it. Also, it's kind of showing me that, yeah, it will clean up pretty nice if I put a little more elbow grease into it. Actually, for some reason, I mean, the bottom's dirty, but I think the top was dirtier. All right, we'll at least give it a quick pass on the bottom here. Okay, so I still need to clean the cord, and ideally I'd probably do this number here with the paper towel and a spudger, but a double up paper towel I probably won't poke through too bad, but yeah, I think that'll actually clean up the rest of the way quite nice. Yeah, look at that. It's already looking like a different power adapter. That's pretty nice. All right. But will it work? That is the question. And this might seem reckless, but it's getting late and my judgment might be clouded by the time. Plus, it was just a simple recap. If anything, the cap got put in backwards and I popped the cap. All right. Yeah, I'm just going to plug it right in. All right. Not even a countdown. See? There we go. It was a simple 5-cap recapping job. Jack says, I mean, it's a +4, so. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Yep, I'm saying I used the plastic spudgers for my fix-it for that instead of screwdrivers. Yeah, somewhere there's a spudger on my workbench. So, I wasn't expecting that would do any large miracles because, after all, none of the caps were leaking. Jack says, is this the time when we debate the correct color of the screen border? This might be the time where we accuse my scaler of not drawing the screen border color correctly. All right, let's test these other 2 caps that were in the power supply here real quick. Ten microfarad, 1 ohm ESR. Actually, that's probably still within spec because that's just a 10 microfarad cap. They usually do have a bit higher ESR than higher caps. And 196. And it's a 220. Okay. So all the caps were within spec. Thomas says, I'm keeping up with Commodore. Yes. Well, I just recapped the Commodore 128 power supply, and nothing was leaking. But, I mean, it's a 40-year-old power supply, so. And if anyone's wondering, my +4, which I'm using a 128 to +4 power adapter, is still working. So, I'm pretty happy and confident that at least my Commodore 128 power supply is maybe 5% less likely to just do something bad to my Commodore 128. Jack says now the power supply will outlive the boron contaminated chips. Yeah, that is true. I need to make some labels so I remember that I recapped these. Well, I'll probably remember that I recapped it because I only have one of these power supplies, and I'll ponder making a label for it. Alright, so +4 demonstrated to be working. 128 power supply recapped. And it's like 11:45. So I think that might be a good place to stop, because I don't think there's anything I have Commodore related that we can take a look at in 15 minutes. So yeah, I think I'm actually going to be nice to myself, and I'm going to not run well past midnight tonight. Wow, I've dropped 13,232 frames over the course of the stream, or 3.4%. Comcast must be having a rough night. So anyways, all right, so what have we done? We have looked at the pet style keyboard VIC-20, and I've set it aside to we'll check it first thing Thursday to see if it just powers up and works, or if it has weird problems after sitting. Hopefully, though, I fixed it, and there's enough contact cleaner in that keyboard connector that it'll make good contact if I don't, unplug it. If I have trouble Thursday, we're not going to look at it any more than just me knowing I need to order deoxit, the good deoxit. So then I showed off the Plus 4, wrote a little short story that I couldn't save because I don't have a floppy drive plugged into it. It's not like it was a Caldecott candidate story anyways. And then recap the Commodore 128 power supply. Now, I haven't acquired some 6526s, so it's not like I can try to repair my Commodore 128 that's having keyboard issues. So, well, that'll have to wait for another day. So anyways, I guess one last announcement. I've got a link down in the description if you want to give to an organization that's helping with hurricane relief in the North Carolina area. I know they were hit pretty hard, especially down in the western part of the state. So you can check that out if you want to. And with that, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on future streams. Thursday, unless I decide to do something else, we're going to build a Tash recorder, which is a clone of the Farallon Mac recorder. I don't know if I've got a Mac that it's actually going to be compatible with to test it once I build it, because I think it was really designed to work with a Plus, and the only working Plus I have is not in a state where I can set it up right to use, because the case is breaking. Unless I happen to get a potential eBay regret in before then, but I don't know if it's supposed to arrive by Thursday. But I think I still want to try to build the Tash recorder because I got all the parts, and it seems like a neat project. Yes, you might have seen One Bit Fever Dream's video about it. He ordered a set. He had to order 5 PCBs, and he let a couple of us know on one of the Discords that, hey, I bought these. Anyone interested? And I said, yeah, I'm interested, because it supposedly does MIDI too. But I haven't figured out how you connect a MIDI device to it. But anyways, if I can figure that out between now and then, that might be how we test it, as MIDI. Jack says there's a regret for that. Yes. Yeah, that was a rare Mercari regret, although I haven't bought anything from Mercari. I think that Mac Plus was like my last straw with Mercari. I don't think I've ordered anything. In fact, I don't even have the Mercari app on my phone at the moment. I think that Mac Plus might have been the last thing I bought from Mercari. That or no, I might have bought one thing after it, then the seller sent me the wrong item, and I was just kind of getting disappointed by their app. The deals weren't that great. Seems like Mercari sellers were caring less than eBay sellers. And it might be because Mercari has no return policy. It's like you can't return anything unless it's absolutely not as described. Mercari doesn't let sellers and buyers work it out either. It's like, it's either a return or no return. So if it like arrives broken, it's a all or nothing proposition. So I got disappointed. I think the Mac Plus was like one of the last straws because it was like the thing works so great, but the case is demolished. And if I return it, then it's going to be demolished and not work. So I ended up, it was like yeah, I didn't return it because it would have been unusable after that because the CRT would have probably for sure broken in return transit. Like, so yeah, that was kind of my nearly last straw. But anyways, we'll build the task recorder Thursday. Unless I realize I have parts for something else I want to do more, but the parts are in a box. I'd like to build it. Yeah, no, poor Plus. Hopefully I'll be able to fix it soon. Anyways, I think with that, I'm going to, subscribe, turn on notifications, and hope to see you here Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And until then, let me make sure I got my finger on the correct button. Take care, and God bless. Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you've liked what you've seen, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or live stream. And as always, thank you for all your support. I hope to see you next time. And until then, take care.